I'm Leanne Smith with Community Care Western North Carolina. I'm a long-term care specialist.
Hello, I'm Waylon Prebor. I'm director of the McDowell Senior Center, and Leanne and I work with the McDowell Balanced Fall Prevention Network.
The CDC reports every year that 1 in 3 individuals over the age of 65 fall.
McDowell County sits in what we call one of the hot spots in North Carolina, where there's a large percentage of people who have fallen or at risk for falling.
In 2013, McDowell EMS responded to 782 fall-related calls. Now this could be anything from elderly falls to young falls, but it was an alarming trend upwards for EMS in the past couple of years.
I think I was about 52 years old. I fell on a cement floor and hit my head on a steel grate and bounced back. The second time it hit did the most damage. It damaged the brain and also caused a lot of back injuries. And I was in the hospital. I didn't go to the hospital right then, but a few days after that, I had to go to the hospital, and I was having seizures. And they ran a lot of tests. They found a lot of brain damage that would never be repaired. So, and at that time I had a little college education, and now I couldn't even tell you my third multiplication table. All that's gone.
I was washing the side of the house, the vinyl on the side of the house, and I was climbing a ladder, which I shouldn't have done because I was having problems with my balance at the time. I climbed to the top of the ladder and reached up to get the dirtiest spot, and I fell over backwards, and the ladder went out from under me, and I fell 6 feet to the ground and on my back.
I had always been a clumsy kid, I guess. I used to speak for a living in front of audiences, and I often would trip on the stage, and the audience would laugh, and I'd make fun of it. I thought it was great fun. And I realized, well, this isn't right. But I thought nothing of it. So about 2 years ago, I was in Spanish class, and I was getting up to leave, and I took a fall and ended up breaking 14 bones in around my orbital area of my eye and in my cheek.
Went to the hospital. I passed out when I got to the hospital, and I was in a coma for about 3 days, I guess. Then I went through 2 months of rehabilitation in the hospital, and then over at Autumn Care.
I thought it was game over. In fact, my friends in the class thought I was dead. I was on the floor, and my eye was bleeding, and they couldn't find a pulse. They're not medical people. They called an ambulance. The ambulance took me to the hospital, and about 4 hours later, I woke up surrounded by a sea of people wearing white with machines making hospital-type noises. It was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me in my life. And then a week later, they couldn't operate that night because I was so swollen. About a week later, exactly 1 week later, I went into surgery to replace or to fix 14 broken bones in my face. So it was a sobering, scary experience. And I realized I need help in the balance area.
I broke my back in 3 places, and I broke my ribs in 20 places. So I was in pretty bad shape. And then when I was in the hospital, I stopped breathing. And so they had to resuscitate me and cut a tracheotomy in my throat so that I could survive, but I made it.
20 years ago, close to it, I had colon cancer surgery. Came home from the hospital, was doing fine, and went to the kitchen, made a sandwich, a cup of coffee, came back, fell across the treadmill, and smashed all this. The sandwich and the coffee cup landed on the coffee table. Not a drop spilled. but I've had nothing but hernias ever since. I've had 4 hernia repairs due to that fall. And both of those falls were through stupidity, I call. They could have been prevented.
Falls can cause moderate to severe injuries, such as hip fractures and head traumas. They can also increase the risk of an early death. The fortunate thing is that many falls are largely preventable.
I shouldn't have been running. I wasn't really running, I was walking fast. In the kitchen where I worked, my feet flew out under me on a greasy floor. And I knew the floor was greasy, but I went too fast and my feet flew out from under me. The second fall, I was eager to get back to the living room to sit down and have my lunch and watch the news. And the treadmill was sticking out and I went right over it. Landed flat in my face.
You can look at fall risk factors in 2 different categories, external and internal. So external would be things like your home environment, how it's set up. Are there places where you could potentially trip on, say, a loose throw rug, on an electrical cord? So those things need to be eliminated. But also medications is considered an external risk factor. So medications that you take can have interactions, and you probably best to sit with your physician and review that as well. When we look at internal risk factors, that's the person themselves. That's maybe there's a illness that's occurring that makes someone more at risk for falls, and specifically maybe strength, balance, inner ear disorder. All of these factors can be internal risk factors. A couple others, interestingly, are just folks that use assistive devices, people that have a fear of falling, and folks that are of an advanced age, 65 or older, we start seeing more falls. So those are other factors that can add to the internal risk factor for a fall.
I'd like to tell you now about some safety tips that might help you prevent falls. Number 1, remove any trip hazards that you may have in the home. Keep stairs and walking areas free of electrical cords, rugs, and clutter. Number 2, have your eyes checked yearly. As we age, our vision changes rapidly, and this can lead to depth perception problems. When we lose our depth perception, we may not be able to judge where we put our feet. Number 3, consult your doctor about your medications. Some medications cause low blood pressure or visual disturbances. This can lead to dizziness and increase your risk for falls. Number 4, consider doctor-approved weekly exercises. This can be done through a local gym, a physical therapist, or your senior center. There are many different types of exercises aimed at seniors to increase balance and strength. Number 5, take your time. Being rushed or distracted increases your chance of falling. Get out of chairs slowly. Sit a moment before you get out of bed. Stand and get your balance before you walk. Number 6, be careful in the bathroom. Use non-slip mats and grab bars in the tub and shower. Number 7, put your best foot forward. Wear sturdy, well-fitted, low-heeled shoes with non-slip soles. These are safer than high heels, thick-soled athletic shoes, slippers, or stocking feet. Remember, prevention is the key to not becoming a statistic.
Those who are at risk for falls, many feel as if until they have an injury that it will never happen to them. And once those that find their friends are falling and find that they're not returning to their homes, that they are on that fast spiral downward, they become more aware that no one is immune from falls.
I'm really afraid of falling over again. It was the worst experience of my life. It was just really, really scary.
My recommendation would be to establish a plan prior to having a fall, which we don't plan for, but unfortunately can happen. What are you going to do? A component of a fall plan would be to assess, what am I going to do after I fall? So obviously communication is very important. Have a cell phone or cordless phone nearby you. If you use a device, maybe you can have it in a pocket on your walker and at your chair where you're sitting most of the time. That way you can make a quick call if you were to fall and you needed help. Some folks also look into medic alert bracelets or pendants or necklaces so that they can quickly call for help if they have a fall and they need need assistance. Folks that may live alone, a nice part of the plan may be to have someone come check on them. Maybe a family member or friend that can come over periodic times of the day just to ensure everything's okay. And if there's someone trusted that you can give a key to, that would be helpful too, to allow them access to assist you. So what do you do if you don't have a phone nearby to call anyone to call for help, and no one's coming by to visit you to check on you? Then you want to do anything you can to make people aware that you need help. So whether it's, if you're in an apartment, maybe trying to rouse your neighbor by tapping on the wall or on the floor, or even shouting out is important, because the more a person is lying on the floor, the more these injuries can compile, and it's very important that assistance is there readily.
I couldn't get up. I crawled on my knees to the coffee table, to the sofa. I finally got the phone knocked off so that I could call Norma, our key holder. And she came and unlocked the door and called 911, and a big old guy came and picked me up and set me in the chair.
The first thing you want to do after a fall is to do a check on yourself and make sure it's okay to try and get up. I would suggest trying to recall if you bumped your head. It's very important and really critical that we establish that, because it may, if you did strike your head and potentially lose consciousness, it is very highly recommended you visit your physician or go to the ED to be assessed. Check yourself, see if you have any symptoms of dizziness, nausea, maybe a headache. Those are signs that you could have had a head strike and a concussion. Check your head for bleeding or pain as well. After you've assessed your head, think about the rest of your body. Take a look. Do you have any bleeding? Is there any areas where you have a lot of pain? If there's bleeding, you want to apply pressure, and if there's pain, you want to just gradually try to move that area, and if it's too painful, then it's time to call for help. If you feel as if you're okay to go ahead and get up, you've checked your body over, then there's a recommended way to do that and get yourself up. The first thing you want to do is bring your upper leg across your body and begin to roll onto your knees and your hands slowly and carefully. As you do this, ensure that you're not experiencing any severe pain. If you do, you would probably stop and wait for help to arrive. So once you're in this position, crawl over to the nearest chair or firm surface, hands on the chair, and bring your strong leg forward and place your foot on the floor. That leg and those hands are going to help you stand up enough to turn and sit down. Once you're there in the chair, take a moment to rest and recheck your body. So if you're someone who's just had a fall, think if this was something random or if you've had previous falls. If you've had a number of falls over the year and you don't change anything about your activity level, lifestyle, then there's a high risk for additional falls. So let's break the chain and the cycle and visit a healthcare professional that you can talk to about this problem. There could be things to address. Maybe it's just a simple activity as walking that could be prescribed to you. But getting to the bottom of the falls is important to prevent future injuries.
Hey, Ms. Sanders. Hey. I'm going to take you through a few balance tests to just assess your fall risk and see if you have a risk for falling and if you might be a candidate for some physical therapy to help with your balance.
My balance was so bad they called my doctor and told him about all the tests and everything. And he said, give her therapy.
Hey Nellie, I'm Skip Stanley.
And I'm Nellie Sanders.
I'm with the home health company and I'd like to talk with you a little bit if you don't mind.
Okay.
What home health does is skilled nursing and therapy services for homebound seniors, and those are seniors who find it difficult to get out and about on a regular basis.
They put me back on my walker, on my cane. I couldn't walk in here, I'd gotten so bad. I was doing real good. But something happened, don't know what happened, that everything went downhill. I started stumbling and staggering and had no sense of balance whatsoever.
Would you say that your falls have, are you fearful of falling? Have they caused you to be afraid of falling when you're out and about?
Yes, most definitely.
Well, fear of falling is a big contributor to falls in seniors. And as a home health agency, we can help you both with your balance and your confidence in moving throughout the community.
After the fall, my most serious concern was my lack of confidence. I was concerned about being as active as I normally am.
It's almost like a silent tsunami or a vicious cycle. We know as we age, we're going to lose strength. And then what tends to happen is as we start to lose strength or we notice that there's things that are impeding our balance, the person is going to decide, I'm not going to go do that activity today. I'm afraid to do the things I used to do because if I do them, I may fall. So then the cycle starts with not only are they losing strength, they're staying away from the activities that they normally do. Now they're going to lose more strength because they're not doing the things. And it doesn't have to be a very difficult activity. It can be simply getting up and out from a chair. So the cycle continues, and the less they do, the more likely they're going to fall.
I would prefer to overcome balance issues and continue on a very, very active life.
With CHAMP, we are able to prove and have been successful in showing, just like the research, that the cumulative effects of strength training combined with balance exercises has proven to decrease the risk of the person taking a fall, which can impair their quality of life.
It's only if you want to have good quality of life that you need to exercise. Because without exercise, your quality of life will be compromised. And that's routine exercise for wellness and prevention. It should be all three levels that we talk about: aerobic conditioning, strength training, and flexibility. CHAMP is a community health and mobility partnership. We're looking to prevent or reduce the risk for falls. As we look at healthcare, the way to save cost or to reduce the cost of healthcare for ourselves and for the whole industry is maintaining that primary prevention, avoiding that primary chronic disease, and seeing a doctor. And more we're seeing in physical therapy, wellness annual physicals are becoming the norm as a primary prevention. CHAMP has been a phenomenal experience for my students. To be able to see real clients coming in to have wellness checks and to be able to work with them and understand the process of exercise prescriptions, to understand the functional assessment of looking at, are they at risk for falls? And more healthcare is going to functional outcomes.
Tai Chi Moving for Better Balance is a 12-week falls prevention program that is designed specifically for those who are at risk for falls. That is adults that are primarily over the age of 65 and adults with disabilities. We had a daughter that came in because she was concerned about her father, who was 90 years old and had been falling a lot.
We as a family were not sure what to do for Dad, and Dad didn't know what to do for himself. And even the medical people who were taking care of him didn't know how to help him. Basically told him to be more careful or to curb his activities instead of doing more, do less because you might fall. So they really had nothing to offer him.
I never bothered to look around to be conscious of and I'd trip over my own feet or I'd trip over something else because I didn't lift my feet high enough. But now I'm conscious of all that which I wasn't before. In the beginning, I used to walk one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time. Now I can walk put one foot in front of you, one foot in front of one foot, but I'm conscious of where my feet are. Before I would just not look at it.
This changes everything because there's no need to curb his activities at all. In fact, he can do more than he did before.
In this program, the cool part, and how it's different from just plain physical exercise, is there's a mind-body connection, and it forces you to focus on your movements and think and breathe into them.
With the active older adult population, specifically those that are over 65, we are looking at this program specifically for this population to gain awareness that we can increase the strength of their legs, of their upper body, increase range of motion to enable them to become more aware of where their feet are. And from the curriculum, we not only teach them how to be more aware of their bodies and increase strength, we also work with mind games so that the body and the mind are working in tandem with each other so that we are more aware of our surroundings.
Because of the program, I've gained the confidence to go back and relearn how to do these things properly and safely, and I can continue to enjoy the type of activity. I don't want to limit my activity. I finally found ways in life that I enjoy physical activity, which will keep me young, and I'm not going to give them up because of a balance issue.
Everyone should try to be in a falls prevention program because it really works. And the last place that anyone wants to go if they fall is into a long-term facility. And so this is the reason why people are coming to us more and more, because we have a solution to preventing falls.
Thank you for joining us to learn more about building better balance and fall prevention.
If you'd like more information about fall prevention programming in our area, please contact the McDowell Senior Center. Our telephone number is 828-659-0821. Thank you again for joining us today.